Okay, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Uhfgood. And today, I'll say this time, it's kind of interesting because some of these YouTubers that do multiple videos a day, and they say today's video or for the video for today, and the only problem is they have multiple videos for that day, and it sounds kind of goofy. Well, I already watched your video from today, so why am I watching the other video of today? It's not a big deal, but instead of saying for today's video, I'm going to say for this video, because I might in the future do multiple videos per day, maybe, if this gets popular at all, which it might not. So, now, okay, so, I know I apologize for doing a lot of talking and not doing a lot of doing. Actually, this is part of the doing, right? Um, I'm basically I'm writing the story. I'm showing you. I have to forget because I'm in this little, you know, this little window here in the left corner of the screen. And you can only see the upper part of me, and so when I'm gesturing, sometimes you might see my shoulders moving. Oh, look at that! Looks like I'm partly see-through. Well, that's kind of annoying. I'll fix that later, I guess. Whatever. I guess I have to check that every single time, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. Unlike the other videos where I wasted time, I'm not gonna do that this time. Um, I'll the dumb part about this green screen stuff. I just didn't want you to see my room, so I got this web around thing, and it works okay. It's not bad. The bad part about this is any given day, lighting slightly different. My hat's on differently. The light position's different because I have a switch and it's an old lamp, so it moves. And I get up, I push my chair out, and sometimes you might be able to see the corners. So each time I get on here, I have to redo the settings because sometimes it'll look different. It's partly because I don't have a lot of lights for one thing. If I had more lights and brighter lights, and I could had a better separation in the screen and further screen and all that stuff, um, it would be more stable from time to time. It would look professional. I'm not a professional. I'm using the microphone of the webcam, which is a new webcam, and it sounds pretty good. It sounds fine. But a lot of these guys have, they have these big desk mics, and they're like, really huge, and they sound really good and stuff. And I don't have any money. I'm lucky that I got this because of something that we did. My dad had enough money to help me get this computer, and including the camera and everything. Actually, the camera was based off of some gift cards that I got, but so I don't have the professional equipment, and I just have the good enough equipment. So sometimes when you see me like messing with controls, sometimes when you see through, or every once in a while, I could probably do this, and you could see the wall, or if I change the lighting, the green screen isn't working. You can see it's kind of messing up there. But if I so it's not going to be perfect every time, but every time I have to adjust, and I keep forgetting that every time that I have to adjust the settings. Okay, so we were getting to the the 3-act structure, right? And basically, I'm actually looking at the not so much here. You can actually see here that I went through some of these tutorials here. This is about Blender itself, and I'm getting pretty good at knowing how to navigate, and I can do a few things. And I don't know everything yet, but I'm learning as I go. So, but anyways, we're at the 3-act structure, right? So Now, let's see. Main character whose attempts to deal with this incident lead to a second and more dramatic situation known as the first plot point, which signals the end of the first act. Now it's supposed to. If I were thinking of this like multiple things, not the main story, but if we're looking at John Thomas, he's got this boring life, and then suddenly there's this exciting thing, right? And he gets this ticket, and he's got the deal, and so I don't know. Usually, you have a separate first plot point, and where things change to where he has to move, kind of go into, I was watching The Last Dragon last night. I don't know how many of you have actually seen it, but it's about a black guy who is a martial arts expert, and basically he keeps getting challenged by this evil character named Shonuff, who tries to fight him, and he kind of won't do it. But at the very beginning, they show in like the opening montage, they show him training, and he's like getting out of the way of these arrows. This Asian guy is like shooting at him, and at the very end, there's one with like a blue like sticker or paint mark or whatever, blue mark on it, and he's able to actually chop it out of his way, even though it was aimed at his back, or maybe he's blind and he was able to sense it, and then he was like, how did you know that it was the blue one? And he's like, I don't know, he didn't know how he knew. And basically, the Asian guy just tells him that he's finally reached the final level, of his mastery of his martial art, and that he tells him to leave. And so basically, this inciting incident, he's just like, how do I get, you're talking about this glow, right? Supposedly there's a sublime glow when you reach the final level, that you become this like super kung fu master with this glow around you. And he's going, well, how do I get to the glow? If I reach the final level, what do I do now? So on his way to search for this master, his master essentially told him to look up this guy in order to find this master to reach the final level or whatever. And so, but then he's outside this like video, I don't know, dance club thing, and the woman that she's like a video disc jockey, video thing, video star thing. She as she's leaving, she's accosted by these guys who basically try to kidnap her, and this guy basically comes in, and he well, actually, that's not how it happens at first, but he sees her outside this thing as he's walking by, and then instantly falls in love with her. And then later on, these guys try to kidnap her, and he basically comes to her rescue and like karate kicks the guys, and so they kind of do this thing where, even though he physically isn't, how do I say it? It's the first plot point is when he discovers her, and it's probably a bad example because I'm not telling it correctly. Let me think of a different movie that might illustrate it. Okay, so basically, we'll just go back to the Star Wars, because that's kind of the big deal, right? So basically, its inciting incident was when the Star Destroyer basically overtakes this Imperial Corvette or this other smaller ship that it's coming after, and they capture it, and Princess Leia's aboard, and Darth Vader, the evil bad guy, he wants to know what she did with the Death Star's plans that she had evidently stolen. And so basically, just before she is actually caught, she runs and to R2D2 and puts the Death Star plans in his memory banks or whatever, and the two droids manage to escape in an escape pod. So then we come down to Luke, who's this farm boy who dreams of going and joining the rebellion against the Empire, and of course he picks up the two droids, and R2 being one of them, and then we get introduced to him, and we get introduced to Ben Kenobi, who is this old hermit, and talks to Luke about his dad and stuff, and he wants him to go after he takes the droid to him. He wants him to go with him to essentially fight against the Empire. And of course Luke doesn't want to. He wants to, but he feels like he's tied down to the planet, because of his uncle and stuff. And then later on, when he comes back, he finds out that his aunt and uncle have been murdered, essentially, by stormtroopers, by the Empire. And so from that point on, there's nothing to keep him there on the planet. So he's kind of forced to go on. He can't turn back to his former life because they're dead. And before the war and stuff was kind of off in space, right? So it's kind of a far off thing. But now it's very real. And so you're basically, your first plot point is this. I don't know if you call that the actual plot point itself, but it's the point that kind of makes it to where he can't turn back. It's a big turning point in the story. So the only way to go on is to go further on. So in my game here, I don't really have an idea of what I want to do for that. On the one hand, you can say for the main character, his kind of no turning back moment is when the portal closes behind him. In fact, it might be a good idea to make it to where the ticket vanishes or something, disappears, because maybe it was just magic, and really it was just used to get him there in the first place. But as far as Halfway's plan to find out what's at the bottom of the closings and stuff, I don't really have a thing there. You could say that when he finds out that Max is back, that could be considered the first plot point. But maybe that's the midpoint. Maybe that's the big, turning point. I'm not sure yet. So I don't really have unless the whole thing is the main character is John instead of Halfway. I could do it that way, is where his inciting incident is getting back into the deal, and maybe I should still do it by that. I'm building this after all. It's not like I have everything solved, and so I'm going to present to you something that's already been solved. So maybe in the next video, I won't really revise this because this is still what's going to happen. But maybe I will still make John the main character, because that's what you start with him anyways. So he's still kind of the main character. So we'll maybe we'll figure out something that ways. So uh, I guess I'll see you in the next video, and we'll talk some more about this.